Tomorrow I start work again, so totally psyched about that. But we're starting the season up tomorrow. Totally psyched. Getting back to something I actually know how to do. I mean, seriously, I just felt like a retard all winter trying to learn this stuff, but you know, I'm kind of one of those guys who once they get an idea in their head, it's all over. If I want to learn something, I don't stop until I feel I know everything that I wanted to know. Of these. And that is a shattered roller that goes onto here for an awning. And if you look at this material here, very shiny, very smooth. I want to say that it's nylon. So, needless to say, the replacement is being printed out of nylon. I ended up trying to print this out once already, and I ended up with this, and then see if I can hold steady enough and it'll focus. Focus! You can see it's all kind of crunchy and stuff. The infill fell apart. I'm running some pretty high infill. About 25 millimeters a second, maximum speed. It's very slow. And I also eliminated as much retraction as possible because I want to say that hurt it some too, because the way I did it before was a triangular infill. Yeah, you can see all those little dots there. Let's see. There we go. Okay, there's a triangular infill, and you can see the clean spots. That's where it's good, but all those little dots is just where the filament balled up. That design made, along the borders, a lot of spots where it retracted. So I changed up to a zigzag pattern, which will, let's see if I can point it out here. Yeah, there we go. It'll run up, meet the edge, go over, and then change direction. So that eliminates a lot of the retraction. It gets, it's probably not as strong overall, but it bonds to the outer wall fairly well. Now the bottom is at 4 layers, I think. And I mean, you can see right through it. You can see right through it fairly easily. It's very transparent, this nylon. And it's incredibly strong. This stuff is ridiculously strong. I printed up this, which took forever. It's just a little spiral vase out of nylon. And the bottom, I think, is 3 layers. And I've been just trying to push through it or something. And I mean, I'm not strong enough to do it. It's really, really strong. I can feel the layers separating some, but I can't break the layers. It's very flexible. It's not flexible when it's printed as much. I mean, yeah, I can squeeze it. It takes a little bit of force. PLA Plus is probably just a tiny bit stiffer than this. But when it comes to stretching this material, it's ridiculous. Here's the failed one, and it's going to go onto here. If I can do this on camera. There, like that. I think it's 20 millimeters tall, so that's not as thick as it's going to be. And the idea is that the force is going to transfer from here onto a big dowel almost. So there's going to be a lot of torque applied to it. And originally my thought was, well, if I make this ridiculous, like, alright, let's say I made it 100 millimeters tall. It won't make it any stronger because I'm not adding any surface area to this piece. This is where all of the force is going to be applied. Anything that happens past here is not going to make it any stronger or more effective, because I'm still going to be just relying on the strength of the bond between layers. And you can tell that it broke because of these little fingers in here. They're just not applying the force correctly. It's going to spread out that force over a lot greater surface area than just these little ribs. Onto my upgrades, you can see I did not get my my i3 access installed. I have as a bottom, and you've seen that. Just a simple bracket. It's really strong. I went with PETG on this. I like the blue color. It's got some nice transparency. It's not going to break. It's not going to melt on me. And here's the top bracket. I didn't have the right length screws, so I just used some nuts and spacers. Not really the end of the world. It's good to stick a washer on there anyway, spread out the clamping force. Got my new lead screws in, which are 2 millimeters per revolution instead of 8, with some nice, awesome anti-backlash nuts. If I was going to buy an upgrade part, I was going to buy the best upgrade part that you can buy. And if you go that route, then it doesn't get any better than this. There's some things about the ball bearing lead screws being better, but when I looked into it, I didn't really find anything to back that up. So I didn't really go with the ball bearing, and it's a really long travel distance between each rotation. So I didn't want to go that route. It just, no, that kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. 2 millimeters per revolution instead of the 8 millimeters per revolution coming from the ones that come with it. Now, if you do a little simple math, 8 divided by 200 is 0.04. That means that you can go up in layer heights of 0.04 millimeters without having to worry about microstepping. If you go down to 2 millimeters divided by 200, you get 0.01. Is how far you can travel without having to deal with microstepping. Now, why that's important is the microstepping function. Alright, just take this motor here, look at it this way, and put 200 hash marks all the way around the perimeter. Okay, that's a lot. So you're saying that with an 8 millimeter lead screw, each one of those hash marks represents 0.04 millimeters of travel. But when you add microstepping on top of it, you have to hold the position of that motor somewhere between those two hash marks. And you do it with electromagnetic waves. So you have fighting fields of electrical current and magnetic waves. I know, I'm getting all scientific here. Trying to hold something where it doesn't want to stay. And if it's on here, that's not really a big deal because it's only going to be there for a split second. If you see that, that's always moving. But if you look at the stepper motors, how often do they move? They don't move for a while. So it's got to try to fight and hold that position for long periods of time. Now, some firmware is set up to time out your motors after 30 seconds. So it'll be holding that and say like this layer is definitely going to take longer than 30 seconds. If those motors time out, that motor wants to jump to one of those micro steps. That's its native position. That's why if you grab the thing in your hand when it's off and you spin it, it feels like you're clicking notches. So it's going to jump, and it's going to jump by around 0.2, 0.3 millimeters, 0.03. So if you're doing that during a print and the thing moves to where it's not supposed to be by a pretty decent margin, you're going to have a problem. It's still going to print, but you're going to throw off your dimensions. You have one layer sticking out the side, whatever the story is, it's still a problem. So it's better off to get better resolution out of the Z-axis so that you don't have to worry about that. It actually does work out pretty well. Uh-oh. Yeah. So I created a new problem. I never checked to see the size of this bracket here. And by the time I did, I said, oh shit, I screwed up. So they have these in different sizes. You can get them 17 millimeters, 19 millimeters, 22 millimeters, yada yada yada. I think even 27, so that's a big one. If I do that, I have to change all my bottom and top brackets. I'd have to change up everything that I already printed. And I printed out an entire setup. Another option I have is I can lop off one of these ends and find a way to mount this to here. I have to countersink these two because that's not gonna, the bolts aren't gonna sit flush. I just haven't decided if I want to take a saw to it or not. If you want this, bracket, you want these brackets, I haven't tested them yet. All the math checks out, they line up in the CAD programs, yada yada yada. If you want them, let me know. I'll throw them up on Thingiverse for you. Moving forward, one of the things that actually got me into this was I wanted to make a new electronic cigarette. If anybody knows these, I have the Alien. I love the thing. I have the Limitless Classic tank on there. I don't really love the thing, but it works, you know. I want to 3D print a mod. And I've been waiting for Mooch to come up with some batteries. He's our big tester. And he's starting to kick out some tests on LiPo batteries, which is huge. That's starting to narrow down my selection. But I'm going to start designing an electronic cigarette. I haven't decided if it's going to be PETG, the T-glaze, or if it's going to be nylon, or both. But I have some ideas in my head on how I want it done. I want to recess this tank into the mod, which would be kind of cool. The other project coming up, my hand pruners. Yep. Yeah, they look all rusty and cruddy and stuff like that, but these are pretty much the best hand pruners that you can use. They got a great simple system on them. The blade's replaceable, but I've never had to replace one. They're absolutely great and I love them. I gotta redo the grips, so I'm gonna dip the grips, but I want to make a holster for them. Those are Coronas. They want, oh, what did I price that? $35 for a leather holster for the printer, for the pruners. And I am not fucking paying that. So I want to 3D print a holster, and that'll have to be out of nylon. That doesn't have a choice because they're going to get caught up and snagged on everything as I crawl around the bases of trees and do whatever it is that I got to do. I don't use them every day. I usually do masonry work, but I'll whip them out to cut string and stuff like that, or the holster's got to be very solid. And a couple of hand tools that I use every day that I would like to have a little holster for, but it really might end up being like a pocket protector style. I use line level a lot, and getting a safe home for a line level, usually we don't even bring it over to the job unless it's set up on a line. We'll leave it in the truck because they break so easily and get lost. They're not very big. So a nice little holster for that, or a carrying case. That, if you stay tuned into this long to a YouTuber called 3D Printing Meathead, well, you know, God bless you. I mean, seriously. I've just been having fun with this, guys. I never really expected anybody to listen to any of this stuff. I just figured I'd store videos on my thought process and stuff online and not waste it inside of a computer. But if you're actually finding something useful out of this, cool. I'll still try to put up some videos, maybe some cool time lapses. I don't know if I want to make this a time lapse, so this is a really long print. And this video is long enough as it is. So I'll still be floating around, but you know, I'm going to be at work all day. You're definitely going to start hearing from me less, though. Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day, and 3D printing on top of working all day, spending time with people, you know. I had more time over the winter because I was laid off all winter. So I'll still be around. I'll still say hi. Feel free to message me. Just understand if I don't get back to you very quickly because, like I said, I'll be busy. And with that, I will see you next time.